that could ever make me acceptable. And I would cry and I would say, I'm sorry. Then I would turn around and do the exact same thing that I did a couple of weeks later. And I was just stuck in a very vicious cycle, you know, very vicious cycle, very detrimental to me. Mindset was completely destroyed. Okay. So, you know, this walk and this thing that we're in right now is completely different. You know, you're going to have all kinds of things pop up in your head. You should be thinking about, as you said, things that you did when you were a child. I thought about the times that I was disrespectful to my mother. I thought about all these different things. And like you said, I should have killed you. Y'all should have destroyed me for the things that I've done and the things that I've said, even up to this point. You know, I had a really terrible dream this morning. Like, you know, you wake up and you're good and you go back to sleep for a minute and then you have another dream or you just get lost and you don't know where you are and you think you're really woke, but you're not. This dream that I had this morning, probably around 7 o'clock this morning, said that I couldn't get on the internet and we were about to have class and I couldn't get on with you guys. And I mean, I was going nuts in my dream. You know, I was trying to hook up everything. Nothing was working. It was terrible. And so I said, well, what am I supposed to take from this dream, this little vision that I had? And the vision is this, that I have to tell you what I got to tell you today. You know, it's an actual benefit to us today that we're able to get online and have this conversation. You know, today is the last day of our festival, which happens to fall on this in particular Shabbat. Praise be to the King of the universe. I say, Berakut et Yahweh, the Hambarak, I say, Baruch Yahweh, the Hambarak, the La'alam Wa'ed. The Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Eloheinu, you know, Malek HaAlam, that is shed to be called Banu. And the Mikole Hamamayim, the Nathan Lenu, the Et Torah To, and the Baruch Atah Yahweh, the Notain, the Torah, the HaTorah. Baruch Atah Yahweh, our Eloheinu, the Malek HaAlam. Asher b'kar banu, the nanu, the et Torah to, the emet the Torah, the nate, the betokinu, Baruch atah Yahweh, the notena ha-Torah. That is a blessing of the Torah to say, Yahweh, we bless you for you are the blessed one. We bless you, Yahweh, for you are the blessed one for all eternity. We bless you, Yahweh, for you are our Elohim. You are the King of the universe who selected us from all the peoples. And you've given us your Torah. And we thank you, Yahweh, because you are the one who gave it to us. We thank you, Yahweh, for giving us the Torah of truth. And you've implanted eternal life within us. We bless you, Yahweh, for you are the giver of the Torah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So I only have a certain amount of time on this earth to do my job. And my job is to convey the message of the Torah to Yahweh's people. I appreciate every individual online today, no matter where you are, with you know, states you're in, what part of the world you're in. I want to let you know that anything that I've said that has offended you is not intentional. I don't say things because I feel like, well, I'm going to, you know, make sure I get what I want to say. Like I want to abuse people, or I want to make people feel bad. You know, some things that I've been saying that, you know, can ruffle people's feathers, you know, like, for example, you know, someone asked the other day or the other evening, like, hey, you know, whose fault is it? And I said, it's the man's fault. You know, it's the man's fault. And that's from Yahweh's perspective. Okay. No matter what the Western culture says, it's the man's fault. The man is in charge of not only of his of himself, but he's in charge of his home. And he's supposed to have a helper in that home. That's what he's supposed to have. It's not good that man should be alone. When you look at the first instance of a man and a woman, what you find is that the man did not protect his wife. He did not warn her. He did not guide her. He did not tell her and reaffirm what Yahweh had said to them. You know, the command was given to the man, and also it was given to her. She had, you know, knowledge of it, but yet he didn't do his job. He didn't protect. we notice that, Yah has this relationship with males, through circumcision. We found out that, you can't even take Pesach without being, circumcised. We find that every male in Egypt, whether of human life or an animal, was to be consecrated to Yahweh. In Mitzrayim, he took the life of every male. Okay. And is this to put a woman down? No, not at all. Not at all. We all have a role and a responsibility to play. And so I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying personal to the point where you think I'm personally attacking you. I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking marriages, because I said that a man is supposed to be in charge of his household. And a lot of these women, okay, I know I say with a lot of sarcasm, a lot of the women and these women in the Western culture are emasculating their men. They're not letting them be the fathers of their homes. They're not letting them do what they want to do. And that's just what it is. Okay. A lot of men are not living up to what they're supposed to in terms of being leaders and being humble and walking before Yahweh with a sense of fear. Okay. So what they do is they're compromisers. Okay. So the long and the short is that we're all screwed up. But the only way that we can get this right is if every individual, whether male or female, were to look and take Yahweh at his word and what he said. Okay. It's always going to be about what he said. Okay. So this week we are coming to a consummation. Today's the day where we consummate this in particular Mikra, this festival that Yahweh has given us, this convocation. Okay. Yeah, we're convocating not together physically, but we are coming together. We're obeying the Koch, the decree that Yah has given to his people. Okay. This week I found, and maybe somebody can agree or disagree, I found a lot of mistakes that I've made. We found extra matzah, kamites. We found that in the house. We made some errors. I don't know about you guys, but we made errors this week. But also too, we discovered, in this in particular cycle, more about what Yah's looking for, and so when he's looking for these things is in order to make room for something new. Okay. So when he tells you to get rid of all this stuff in your house and you go to the spring cleaning, get rid of all the kamates, get rid of all the soor, it's a time for reflection. It's a time to searching to get those things out. So then you can make room for something else that Yahweh wants to put there. Okay. Then tomorrow we're going to move on to, going ready and preparing for our next festival that's coming up. Okay. This festival represents Yahweh's hand, Yahweh doing a strong work and a mighty work for the children of Israel. Okay. He told us that, and I want to get some feedback on this. I didn't recognize until maybe the second day of the festival, the Yahweh wanted us to eat matzah every single day of the festival. Not just, well, you got to get the kamatz out your house and soor, but he wants you to eat matzah every single day. Somebody tell me why.
It's a bread of affliction to remind you.
It's a bread of affliction to remind us that in the affliction is to be humbled. Affliction means to be humble. Yah delivers the afflicted by affliction. Okay. So thank you, Rivquad. The reason for doing it is for us to have a reminder of what Yah has done for us and a reminder about what he is going to do for us. Remember, I told you, we're not in this for nothing. We're in this to receive something from Yahweh. But along the way of this, we have to make sure that we do what he says in order for it to be part of our new mindset. So did anyone, just be honest, did anyone make the mistake of not eating matzah for one day or during the week?
I did.
You did? Okay, good. I'm glad you confessed to that because I did too. And so even if you missed it, what it is like from the next cycle, he's saying that every time you pick up that matzah and you put it in your mouth, it's a reminder. When you eat it, you're supposed to be thinking about what Yahweh's done. You're not supposed to just be eating it to eat it. That's religious. right? That's being religious, like how they told us to drink the blood and eat the flesh, eat the cracker and drink the wine, and that's his blood and all this kind of stuff. No, this right here is a reminder. This is a reminder. So every time we're supposed to take that matzah and put it in our mouth, even today, today's the last day until the sun goes down in evening, that when you put that matzah in your mouth today, think about what Yahweh has done. He's literally saying, I need you to think. And often we don't take the time to think about what Yahweh is saying. We just do things. We don't think, okay? So he's letting us know, I need you to just open up and start thinking. So all these festivals are time to come together and rejoice, right? But also too is to think about what Yahweh said and what he plans on doing. It's a reminder, okay? It's an appointed time because you and I are his witnesses. Anyone have any questions before we proceed in our teaching today about matzah and Sa'or and anything about the festival? And you have questions?
I have something that's not really a question, but I just wanted to make a comment. I also think it's also to think about what he's done and what state we're in right now too. It's kind of like that's the bread of affliction. That's kind of how I've been looking at it this week.
Yeah. Wow. You want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I like what you said.
Well, I was just thinking about our captivity and how we had to leave in such a hurry, and the bread of affliction, it just means much more to me now, because it's like you said, the kamats that we were looking at through the house for were, also are the idols and the things and the bad habits and attitudes and things that we had from our previous captivity or mindset and Christianity. Even though we've been doing this for a couple of years, it's kind of like every year you still find new stuff. Like you said, we found kamats in the refrigerator or the freezer that, we weren't as thorough maybe this year as we have been in the past because of different reasons. But it's like every year we have to do the same thing over and over again. And every year something else comes up. And I just thought that was awesome.
Praise Yah for that, Rivka. I see Azania, you have your hand. Go ahead, Akoti.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yes,
I noticed that a lot of our people, in fact, even some Messianic people, to me, certain things just became very ritualistic. Like it just, to me, it was like a little overboard, like anything that swelled, take out your house, you know what I mean? If the wood, take it out. So I really tried to, as Yakoti said, that spoke prior to me, really just tried to concentrate on some of the things that you spoke of and the lessons that you gave last week. And that was just like finding what was hidden in myself. And to be honest, until yesterday, I looked and I found some way in the back of my cabinet. I found some baking soda. And I said to my husband, hurry up, get this out the house. But to me, we didn't trip. We saw that as the Most High reminding us, there's work to do on yourself. Finish cleaning yourself and preparing yourself for me, because judgment's here.
Yes.
I see it everywhere. So
yes. Wow. You got me. I got goosebumps when you said that, because that's what all of us have been experiencing. I appreciate the honesty, right? I thought I said, yeah, we made some mistakes. He said, you're going to make mistakes. That's fine. Making mistakes are okay, you guys. Listen, Yah has let us know. I have provided, offerings and sacrifices for that. You guys are in the midst of a place, as Rick Wise said, you're in the place of your affliction. I understand that your mindset is messed up. You guys don't recognize how messed up you are, but I do. I really understand. But if it's intentional, that's different. Now, if you have this cavalier attitude that I don't care because I don't see the judgment of Yah, that's different than making a mistake. Okay. My wife and I, we have construction going on. We have my uncle over here, and he doesn't follow the Torah, whatever. And we bought him lunch, and we got him a fillet of fish, right? We didn't eat it, but we got it for him, right? And that's what he wanted. So when I brought the bag in the house, I didn't recognize it until after he took a bite of it. I told my wife, I was like, hey, I just made a mistake. And she said, what's that? I said, we brought in the kamats. We took it out, but you know what I'm saying? So you're mine. You got to remember, Yah says it's don't supposed to be nowhere. And he said, you're in charge. So from now on, he's going to have to eat what you eat. And guess what happened? As a result of that, every day after that, I made sure that he ate kamats. And do you know what the man said to me? What's this? What does all this mean? And I was like, well, it
Matzah.
means,
Matzah.
yeah, matzah. Yeah, I said matzah, not kamates. I'm sorry. I said, what's my matzah? I put the matzah bread there. We had tuna, we had all kind of stuff. And he started asking questions. He's been looking up videos to validate me saying that we're Hebrew. All these things have happened and transpired over the last week. So even in your mistake, you can find, as you just said, Azanya, you can find that the Creator is telling us, I need you guys to prepare. That's what we're going to talk about today. I want to let you know I only have a certain amount of time on this earth to tell you. And if anybody's going to tell you the truth, I have to, because that's what I've been called to do. So thank you guys for your comments and your contributions. Now let's get started. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry, Chica. When you said that your uncle, when you put the matzah in front of him, he asked, what is this? I couldn't help but think about the Israelites, our ancestors in the desert.
Ooh, yes.
They said, what is this?
What is it? Yeah.
And one other thing, I think that the important thing we must do is when we make mistakes, make sure we learn from them and not repeat them.
Thank you. That's all. If you make a mistake, right, which you will, everyone does. But there's consequences. Listen to me. If you make a mistake, learn from that mistake and look and put in things in process to make sure, like, okay, I'm gonna do this time. I'm going to do this next time. So if you miss the matzah this week or the kamates in your house, then what we need to do is along the way, prior to the time we're supposed to do it, that means that you and I weren't better prepared. It's not that we weren't ready. We need to be prepared. So maybe it shouldn't start, for us to start thinking about this. We understand from the first day of Aviv, maybe we should start timelining it and put a schedule together and listen to this, hold ourselves accountable to what it is that we're supposed to do. So maybe we could create a checklist, and especially too, ladies, if you guys are governing your home, you should have a list of things that you have and things that you don't have. You should already know what it is, right? So that's a great way to manage your home. So look at it, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, because we're all in this together and we're all going to have to, be accountable. That's what it is. Yah's holding us accountable. Thank all of you for your contributions and your comments. Okay, so what I'm about to tell you and what I'm about to share with you can either do one or two things with you today. Either it's going to cause you to leave the Torah, or it's going to cause you to humble down. Okay, because I'm going to say some stuff today that it's not going to make you comfortable. Okay, and I know it's festive. It's a festive time. But I want to show you what the Creator's saying. Azanya alluded to it when she said judgment's here. A lot of stuff is going on around the world and everybody's playing dumb, like they don't know what's going on, okay? There's a lot that's coming down the pipeline. There's food shortages that are coming, people. They've already told you, okay? That's coming, okay? This COVID thing is still out there. China's completely locked down and anybody's not been paying attention. Go do your research and find out that they're putting stickers on their door. And if they break that sticker, there's consequences for those people and they're starving to death. People are jumping out of buildings, killing themselves. Okay. People are crying and screaming. The streets are empty. And it's over 25 million people that they did this to. Okay. So those are the things that are out there. All right. That is coming. Economic is already here. All right. My wife and I went to go look for some paint yesterday. Guess what? We don't have the paint. There's a shortage on satin finish paint. You hear what I just said? So these things are coming. Let's get right directly into the Torah. I'm going to share with you something, and we're just going to have to accept the truth about it. Here's the truth. There's a guy in what they call the Bible. Remember, the Bible is not written for the children of Israel. The Bible is a book that has been compiled of the European church fathers that decided they're going to put a whole bunch of letters and commentary together and stick it and add it to the text of the Hebrew scriptures. Okay. In their part of the Bible called the New Testament, there's a guy named James, who they are called the James the Just, or James the brother of JC, James from Zebedee. They don't know which one of these James wrote this book. They don't know. They try to go ahead and call him by his Hebrew name, which is Yaakov, and they have said that he is a Torah teacher and so forth and so on. I want to read something to you that he said. He said in chapter number 1, no one being tempted should say, I'm being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, and God himself tempts no one. Rather, each person is being tempted whenever he is being dragged off and enticed by the bait of his own desire. Okay? Then, having conceived, the desire gives birth to sin, and when sin is fully grown, it brings birth to death. So he says, don't delude yourselves, my dear brothers. Okay. All right. How do you guys feel about that? Do you believe this? Do you believe this is true?
No, it's untrue. I think Jeremiah, I forget what chapter, but when he brings Rechab's descendants to the temple.
Oh, go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's completely untrue, because the Most High did tempt them with wine to see what they would do.
You want to see? I'm gonna click a button just to say that's from the Most High. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter number 35, and guess what it talks about? What you just said. That was part of the lesson today. Thank you, Azania. She's exactly correct. There's a story in the book of Jeremiah, but there's many others. Okay, but since she mentioned this first, let's talk about this. Okay, so we can get some context. The word of Yahweh came to Yirmiyahu, okay, or the word came to Yirmiyahu from Yahweh during the time of Jehoiakim, the son of Yoshiyahu, the king of Yehuda. So this is the setting. He says, go to the Rekhavim, okay, and that means a family. Speak to them, bring them to one of the rooms in the house of Yahweh and give them some wine to drink. So I took Yaazania. This is your brother. I took Yaazania, the son of Yirmiyahu, okay, the son of Kavatazania, and his brothers, and all his sons, listen carefully, and all the Rakahavim, okay, and I took them into the house of Yahweh, to the room of the sons of Hanan and the son of Yigdal Yehu, a man of Elohim. And it was by the room of the officials, which was above the room of Maasaiah, the son of Shalom, the gatekeeper. Don't get confused with all the names. These are just their names. If you notice, they all have Yah's name in their name. Just like the Atlantic slave trade log. They have Yah's name in their names, okay? There I sat in front of the members of the clan, meaning the family of Rekhavim, pitchers full of wine and cups. And I said to them, drink some wine, because this is what Yahweh told him. But they said, now listen what they said. I want everybody to put your ears on today, okay? So you can hear what Yah is going to say to us. But they said, we will not drink any wine, because Yonadav, the son of Rakav, our ancestor, gave us this order. Here in the order means a command. Okay, he gave us this command. What command did he give him? What does it say? You are not to drink wine, neither you nor your descendants, for how long?
Forever.
Forever. And so that came from who? It came from this man here, Rakav. Okay. That's why they call the Rakavim, because he's talking about the people from his family. That's what they come from. So Rakav is the family of the Rakavim right here. Did you see up here? You see Rakavim? Here it is right here. He's the father of the Rakavim. Okay. He is the ancestor of that clan. He said, he gave us this command. You are not to drink wine, neither you nor your descendants forever. So what we can learn from this is that information is passed down, and I'm going to say it one more time, okay? And I've been saying it all week and last week and a week before, that the fathers, okay, they didn't receive this from their mothers. Their mothers were online, no. The daughters are online because they're the helpers. They are in agreement to what this man had told his sons. You guys are to never drink wine forever. You see? So here's some cultural background for us to understand that when a father told his kids something, it's supposed to be transmitted no matter how long. And I told you the other day that the men are responsible. The reason why you and I are in exile right now is because of our fathers. When Yah says, I'm going to remember your fathers, I'm going to remember what your fathers did to me. The women were not put to death in the wilderness. All the men over the age of 20 were put to death because of what Yahweh said. This man told his sons, forever, you are not to drink any wine. Gekazi, 2 weeks ago, Zazarat, he did what he did because of his greed, and Yahweh put Zazarat on him and his descendants forever. We better wake up to who we are as a people. This is from Yahweh. Yah called this man and his family in there so Yah can prove the point of what he's saying. Also, you are not to build houses. You're not to sow seed or plant or own vineyards. Not only you're not supposed to go ahead and drink no wine, I don't want you building no houses. You guys are not going to sow no seed in the ground. You ain't planting your own vineyards. Rather, you are to always live in tents. That was a command from their father. So that you may live a long time in the land which you are not citizens. We have heeded, we have listened, we had Shema, we had obeyed the words of Yonadav. This name right here, Yonadav, we did in our Torah portions. This is why it's important for us to continue to understand what Yah was talking about. Somebody tell me, what does Nadav mean? If you can remember. He's one of Aaron's sons. Nadav is one of Aaron's sons, and his name means willing. That's what his name means, to be willing. Okay, so the yo on here means he. The yod is this. You know that, and it means he. Okay. He is willing, the son of Rakav, our ancestor. Okay. In all that he instructed us to do not drink wine as long as you live. We, our wives, our sons, and our daughters. See? Not to build houses for ourselves to live in. Not to have vineyards or fields. That seems a little harsh, doesn't it? Come on, somebody, talk to me. Does that seem a little harsh? Does that seem like when I told you to do something, okay, listen to this. I instructed you to do something. And what I instruct you to do is going to affect you, your sons, your daughters, and your wives, and people that you marry. Okay. But I'm going to tell you this, and I don't care about who you're going to marry. They're going to have to buy in to what I said. I don't care what's going on. Everybody from here on out is going to have to live this way in order to do what I said. Seems unfair, doesn't it? Why do they get to live in the house, but we don't? Why do we got to stay in tents? And you say to them, because our father told us not that we couldn't do it. We're following his charge. You see? So this is a problem. Okay. So listen to this. I got to speed it up. We have lived in tents. We have heeded. We have done what Nadav, our ancestor, and have done everything he ordered us to do. Okay. So listen to this. But when Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, came to attack the land, we said, come, let us go up to Jerusalem, because we were afraid of the army of the Kasdim and the army of Ram, since we are living in Jerusalem. Hence, this is the reason why we're here. Then the word of Yahweh came to Yehu, and Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says to the men of Yehuda and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say, won't you ever learn to listen to my words? Why has Yah brought this family here? Somebody tell me, from what we've read so far, why did he bring this family to Jerusalem so they can give testimony to this? What is he telling Judah?
As an example of how we should be.
Yes.
Yes.
He's giving this family, he brought this family here to show and prove that, guess what? If these human beings can listen to the order of their father, why aren't you listening to what I'm saying? Won't you ever learn to listen to my word, says Yahweh? That's for us. Won't you ever learn to listen to what I'm saying? These men have done it, so what is your excuse? The words of Yonadav and the son of Rakav, which he ordered his offspring not to drink wine, are obeyed. So to this day, they don't drink any, because they heeded their ancestors' order. But I have spoken to you, spoken frequently, you have not listened to me. Go ahead, iPhone 13, you got a question.
Now, I was wondering what tribe is Yonadav and Rekav from.
I don't know at this time. Unfortunately, I don't have it. But what we do know is that there was an order that was given and they followed it. So they didn't make any excuses. They did what their father said. These men honored their father. They didn't go against their father. Those daughters and those wives, they didn't go against those men. They went with whatever it was. What I'm saying is, if you're part of a family, especially Yahweh's family, you and I, okay, are going to have to do what he said. That's the problem. That's why we're here. He said, I keep talking to you over and over again, but you don't listen to my words. What are his words, everybody? What's the words? What are the words that he's been saying to us?
The commandments and Torah.
Torah. That's why you're studying the Torah on a weekly basis. That's why we're here. So you and I can listen to Yahweh's words. If you don't come and hear Yahweh's words, you're not listening to his voice. You have to respond in kind. 15. He says this, I have also sent you all my servants, the prophets. I sent them frequently with the message. This is the message that he said, and this is in Jeremiah 25 and everywhere. This is the same message that he's always said that nobody wants to listen to. He says this, the same message. Every one of you should turn back from his evil way. Okay, that's number one. I need you to turn back from your evil way. I need you to do what? I need you to improve. Improve your actions. And do not follow other gods in order to serve them, because these other gods are the ones who is in charge of your attitude. Then you will live in the land I gave to you and your ancestors. But you have not paid attention or listened to me. because the descendants of Yonadab, the one who's willing, the son of Rechab, have obeyed the order of their ancestors. He ordered them, but this people has not listened to me. Therefore, here's what Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says. Now, listen, I want to be clear. There's a lot of passion in my voice because I want everyone to understand something. If you don't believe what's written right here about, you just take these words and say, this is what Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says. If you just think these are words, then you're sadly mistaken. The King of the universe is talking to his people. And listen what he says to his people, okay? Listen to this. He says, therefore, here is what Yahweh, the Elohei Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says. I will inflict on Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem all the disaster I have decreed against them, because I have spoken to them, but they have not listened. I have called them out. I have called out to them, but they have not answered. Then the clan, the family of Rakhavim, Yerami Yahu said, here's what Yahweh Zavaoth says, the Elohim of Israel, because you have heeded the order of Yonadab, your ancestor, and observed all his commands and done what he ordered you to do. Therefore, Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says this, Yonadab, the son of Rechab, will never lack a descendant to stand before me. Now, we might think of that, well, that's not a big deal. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. The focus for you and I is this, is that Yahweh says that if you would do what I tell you, then you can go live in the land. Then you'll live in the land I gave you. If you will listen, if you will do what he says. But if you haven't paid attention to him and you haven't done what he says, Yah says, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to bring disaster on you. I'm going to decree it against you because you haven't listened to me. And I'm calling out to you. When I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to you through the Torah. If you don't listen to the Torah, I'm going to destroy you, and I'm going to destroy your family. When he destroyed those people of Jerusalem, he's destroying their family. Go ahead, Azanya.
This is my question, and I understand if you maybe we'll get to it later, but it does have to do with, I think, what you're speaking on here. It's like we're in the same situation again with our people. And we know that the Holy One doesn't change. You proved that earlier by the lesson that you were talking about in Leviticus 26, the Most High talking about the giving us the new rain, so forth, and the harvest and the things like that. And then you showed that in Jeremiah. So is this what we're heading into again with our people? This type of vast judgment coming on us in the end days?
Yes, it is. It's the what it is that I wanted to show you today that if you and I don't listen, you're going to be destroyed. That's what this is. This is the last rodeo. This is it. If we decide, and I say we, I'm talking about the nation of Israel, if we decide that we're not going to do what he says, right, in every regard, God says, I'm going to destroy you. Okay? Just like he promised this in particular family, and she'll always have someone who will stand before me, right? You always have a person, a descendant to always stand. That's a big deal to be able to stand before Yahweh. And the reason why they're able to stand before him is the key is that he says, because you've heeded the order of your father. See, the command of not drinking wine and not building houses and not planting seed and not doing a vineyard, that was a command that a father gave to his family. It wasn't outside, it was outside of what the Torah commanded. You understand? Unless you were going to be a Nazarite, right? Where you don't drink any wine and so forth. But there's no other place that we find that God had honored what this father had said. So what I'm trying to bring out is this, is that if your children don't honor, listen carefully. If they don't honor what their father said, they're done. That's what I'm trying to get the point, not just for my benefit to, like you would say, scare your kids. I'm letting everybody know if you got children and your children don't follow what you're saying and you're trying to teach them what Yah says, he's going to destroy your children. He's going to kill your kids just like he did with Nadab and Abihu, just like he did with Eliyahu's sons, just like he did with David's son. David had a son, Avshalom. You guys remember him?
He chased him into the. He tried to.
Yeah, what did Absalom do to his father David?
He tried to take his throne.
Tried to take his throne. He bucked up against you, didn't he? He wanted to kill his own father. He jumped up against his father, right?
Yes, he did.
He slept with his wives, right? His concubines. He tried to usurp his throne. Okay?
Yes.
So he was destroyed. So Yah doesn't need any particular people. Okay, he could start over with whoever he wants to. If you and I go against the creator, then you and I are going to be destroyed. You understand that? I want everybody to hear what I'm saying, because we're at the end. This is the end game. Yah does not have favorites. Okay. It talked about, the book of James said that nobody, God doesn't test anybody. Genesis chapter number 22 says this. After these things, after what things? All the things that Abraham was going through. He said to him, Abraham, and he answered him, here I am. He said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, okay, meaning who you're united, Yakad, with Yitzchak, and go to the land of Moriah. There you are to offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain that I will point out to you. Elohim has tested Abraham. He wanted to find out something, okay? He wanted to prove him, and he wanted to examine him, and he wanted to test him. After everything Abraham has done up to this point, he wanted to test him, okay? In the book of James, it says, and I'm gonna read it, I'm not gonna read it I'm not gonna, let me see here. I'm gonna bring us back to James right quick. So you can see something. I want you to see that this guy's supposed to be a Torah teacher, but I want you to see what he says about Abraham. He said, he made his decision. What is it? Go away immediately, not forgetting, control, not being you should be tempted, God, if we cannot be tempted. Oh. Chapter number 2. He made this statement about Abraham. Okay, see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Look what he says. He's going on this idea of faith and works, right? And saying that God hasn't tested, he don't tempt anybody. Well, look what he says in verse number 23 of chapter number 2 of the book of James. He said the passage of the Tanakh was filled, which says Abraham had faith in God and was counted him as righteousness, even he called God his friend. I think, where is this? Oh, sorry. 20. Sorry, 20. But foolish fellow, do you want to be shown that such faith apart from actions is barren? Again, faith without works is dead. Listen what he says. He says, wasn't Abraham, Avinu, our father, declared righteous because of the actions when he offered up his son Yitzchak on the altar? That's what he said. He said Abraham was declared righteous because of his actions when he offered up Yitzchak on the altar. Is that a true statement?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, so when did Abraham get declared to be righteous? Was it before?
It was before then when, it was before then.
It was in chapter number 15 when Yah told Abraham, and Yah was the one who declared him righteous by causing him to believe what Yahweh says. In chapter number 15, you can read that for yourself. In chapter number 22, which you and I are at right now, I just wanted to show you that he said that Abraham, our father, the Avinu, the righteous actions has been offered because he offered him. So righteousness was accounted to him because of what he offered by offering his son, which is not true. That's not true. So does this man understand the Torah? And the answer to that is no. The person who wrote this book doesn't understand that righteousness was not imputed to him because he offered his son up as a sacrifice. Okay. Listen to this. We're back in Genesis. So This is what Yah did. Yah said he's going to test Abraham. Verse number 2, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Yitzchak, and go up to the land of Moriah. It wasn't his only son, by the way. It wasn't his only son, but it was his only son from Sarah, who then you are to offer him as a burnt offering on the mountain that I will point out to you. So Yah told him exactly where to go. Abraham got up early in the morning and he saddled his donkey. He took 2 of his young men with him, together with Yitzchak, his son. He cut the wood, the burnt offering, departed and went toward the place where Elohim told him about. Let's just go ahead and scroll because you guys already know the story. Let's see here. Abraham put out his hand in verse number 10, and he took the knife to kill his son, and the Malach of Yahweh called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, here I am. He said, don't lay your hand on the boy. Don't do anything to him. For now I know that you are a man who fears Elohim. I know that now because you haven't withheld your son, the one you love, your Yakad, the one that you're joined to, the one that you love the most. You haven't withheld him from me. He wasn't declared righteous because of this. I'm going to show you what happened to him after this, after he was willing to do this. Abraham raised his eyes and he looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in the bushes by its horns. Abraham went and he took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the place Yahweh Yoreh, Yahweh will see, and Yahweh will provide, as he did, as it said to this day. On the mountain Yahweh is seen. The Malach of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time out of the Shamayim, and he said to him, I have sworn by myself, says Yahweh, that because you have done this, because you haven't withheld your son, your only son, I most certainly will bless you. There's no mention at all about I'm going to impute righteousness to you. Okay. I'm going to bless you, and I will certainly most increase your descendants. So as a result of his obedience to what Yahweh had asked him to do, Yah says, I'm going to bless you. And the blessing here is the increase. Okay. I'm going to increase your descendants. That's the blessing. Okay. And your descendants are going to be as the stars that are in the sky and the grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the cities of their enemies. Okay. And the cities of their enemies is throughout the whole entire world. Okay. Because that's the ultimate goal. The people says that in all looks, and listen to this, and by your descendants, the nations of the earth will be blessed. And I told you what blessed is. They're going to bow the knee because you obeyed my order. Again, showing you through like the family of Rakavim, he says, they did what you're supposed to. You'll be able to stand before me. Abraham, I tested you to see what you're going to do. That family that we just talked about in 35, you guys did what you were told to do. You guys get it. I know if you will listen to your own father, I know you'll listen to me. So I got some bad news. If you don't listen to your father, you're not listening to Yah. You don't have capacity. Do you understand that? If you don't listen to the one who Yah put in your life, you won't listen to Yah. He was using that family as an example. If Abraham did not listen to Yah, we will not be the blessing of the nations. They would not come down and bow. We would not be increased. It's all contingent upon obedience and listening to what Yahweh had said, his order. That's why you and I are still alive. It's because this man listened to Yahweh's order. Abraham returned to his young men. They got up and they went together to Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. I hope you guys are getting this. Okay. If a person will not listen to his father and his mother, because they're one and the same, and meaning they're united, you won't listen to Yah. You won't. Okay. So that's one example. Here's another example. This is about being tested, okay? Because this is what it's all about. In Exodus chapter number 15, which is part of the story of how Yah delivered Israel and how he saved them. Let me show you something. In the last couple of verses, it says here, Verse 23. I'll just say in 22. Moses led Israel onward from the Sea of Suf. This is after they came out of the sea where Yah had delivered them from their enemies. They went out into Shur, the desert, but after traveling 3 days in the desert, they found no water. They arrived at Marah, which means bitterness, but they couldn't drink the water there because it was bitter. That's what Marah means. Marah means to be bitter. Okay. The reason why Yahweh brought them here is because he knows who they are. He knows that within them, there's a sense of bitterness. Okay. And because they came out of a place of bitterness. And so they're very bitter. This is the reason why they're always complaining. This is why that in particular place is called Marah, because it has to do with bitterness. Bitterness has to do with rebellion. That's what bitterness is. It means to be a rebel. Okay. And the people grumbled, okay, against Moshe. They quarreled against him and they asked, what are we to drink? Yah brought them here for this very reason. Okay. Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a certain piece of wood. When he threw it into the water, he made the water taste good. It no longer was bitter. There, Yahweh made laws, which is kokim, rules, which is mishpatim for life for them. And there he tested them. So are you telling me this is chapter number 15, that Yah, before they even went to Mount Sinai, that Yah had already given them laws and rulings? Yes. He's already given them the kukim. He already told them. One of the first kukims that he told them was to keep the Pesach. Another order that he told them that was a coke that was forever is to have the matzah. I need you to put the blood over the doorpost. I need you to put it on the sides of the mezuzot. I need you to take this on this day. I need you to do that. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And because they did it, they were able to be delivered from death. You see, I need you to leave right now. They got up, they left. They're following the orders. Okay. He said, listen what Yahweh says. He said, if you will listen intently to the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, and do what he considers right, and pay attention to his commandments and observe, guard all his kukim, I will not afflict you with any diseases that I brought on the Egyptians, because I am Yahweh, your healer. And then he sent them to another place, Elam, which had 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the water. Yahweh knows what he's doing. So he tested them there. That's the next test. Okay. So Yahweh does test people because he wants to see if you're going to do what he says. If you do what he says, you will live. If you do what he says, you'll get the water. If you do what he says, you'll be healed. If we do what he says, he'll bring us to the land. I'm adamant about telling you that if I do not do what he says, you're not going to the land. Broadcast it to his people. They traveled on from Elam, the place of the 12, 70 palm trees and the 12 springs. What did he say? The whole community of the people of Israel arrived at Sin Desert between Elam and Sinai on the 15th day of the second month after leaving the land of Egypt. I want you to understand something. If you look in the text carefully, you will find that Yahweh is always doing something on the 15th day. It's been exactly 1 month, 30 days since they left. They're in the second month on the 15th day. They left on the first month on the 15th day. That the 15th day is Matzah. So now, 30 days later, they're in the desert, the whole community, and guess what they did again? They grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. That's what they did again. And this time, it's not over water because they just left Elam. Guess what it is? The people of Israel said to them, we wish that Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. There, we used to sit around pots with meat boiling, and we had as much as food as we wanted. But you have taken us out into this desert to let the whole assembly starve to death. Yahweh said to Moshe, here, I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. By this, I will what? I will test them. I will test whether they will observe my Torah or not. This is reflective in our idea of getting a day's ration of the Torah portion every single day. Yah will put out his words every day, but you and I have a responsibility to go up and go get it every single day. And Yah is doing that, and listen to me carefully. Yahweh is using the Torah to test you. Never heard it before, have you? If you're not reading your Torah portion on a daily basis, you're not listening to Yahweh's words. If you treat the Torah like it's just an additive to your milkshake or your protein shake, it's just the protein and you put the bananas and everything else in it, then you don't really get it. You don't understand this. Okay. Yah is not an additive. Yah is testing us, and he's guarding us, and he's showing us, like, if you listen to what I'm saying, I will guide you. Yahweh is our shepherd. And if we're not listening to him, you understand, then you and I are going to go off on our own path. His voice is the Torah. So if you just read the Torah when you feel like it, he's not really talking to you. You're just doing it out of your fear, not out of your love, not out of your understanding. But I'm letting you know today that we're being tested. And Yah is going to use the Torah to do it. It's the day's ration. Let me ask you a question. If we didn't have the Torah, what would you and I have to govern our lives right now? What would we have? What if you got rid of the Torah today, what would you and I have? What other book would you look to? Or by the way, what other book is out there besides the New Testament that would really guide you into Yahweh's ways or to know him? What other book?
Prophets.
Yeah, the prophets, they'll give you, but I'm just saying, let's get rid of the prophets. Let's get rid of the Tanakh. Let's get rid of what Yahweh said. And let's just do
nothing.
You have nothing.
Nothing, no.
You have nothing. So Yahweh giving us the Torah and the prophets, okay, is a gift. And what it is the bread that Yahweh is giving to us. When he said, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceed out the mouth of Yah. Every word that proceed out the mouth of Yah, it was spoken to Moshe and the prophets, and Yahweh is telling them what it is. And they're conveying the information to us. If we didn't have this, you and I will be starving to death. He says it's going to come a day where men will not just, have a famine from food, but you're going to have a famine for the word of Elohim. You understand? So if we don't have this, then it's done. Yah is using the Torah to test us, to find out whether or not you and I will do what, whether or not we observe the Torah or not. The reason why our people, I think Azania alluded to it, she said people are going crazy. Like, if they got oatmeal, they throw their oatmeal out because it raises. There's no kamatz in oatmeal. There's no seor in oatmeal. You understand? They throw everything. They just gone. Why? Because they don't really fully understand. Okay. The people still are celebrating Christ as their Passover. Why is that happening? Because Yah is using that as a test. If you don't listen to the Torah, because that's where you're being tested. Torah and testing go hand in hand because the Torah is Yahweh's voice. If you listen to the command, okay? So that's another part, okay? Then he goes on and guess what they did? You read this chapter in chapter number 16. We're not going to go over it all the way, but guess what they did? They did not fulfill that. They didn't go out and do what he says. Therefore, what they did pick up when they tried to do it, or what they left over, they didn't follow the instructions. There's another place, Exodus chapter number 20. Remember, it says Yah doesn't test anybody according to the book of James. The New Testament people, I just want those who are listening on live on YouTube to understand that Yah does test us. He tested Abraham. He tested children of Israel. Okay. And they tested him. But here's what he says. This is in chapter number 20 of Exodus, when the children of Israel had received and heard the words of the living Elohim. Okay. This is the setting. They were scared. Okay. Verse 19, they said to Moshe, you speak with us and we will listen, but don't let Elohim speak with us or we'll die. Moshe answered the people, don't be afraid, because Elohim has come only to what? Test you. Why? to make you fear him so you won't commit sins. That's why. There was a purpose behind him coming the way that he came. He was showing them, listen, you need to be afraid of me. Okay. So why were they tripping? Because they didn't want to hear what he had to say. They wanted Moshe to speak. And that's why you and I have the Torah that's written by Moshe, because Yahweh decided, yeah, what the people have said is a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great thing. Because guess what? He told them in chapter number 5 of Deuteronomy, yeah, I will kill them. They did the right thing by saying that. Woo. Deuteronomy chapter number 8. Listen carefully. All the mitzvot I'm giving to you today, okay, the commandments you are to take care to obey, so that you would live and what? Increase your numbers. It's always about living. It's always about increasing your numbers. It's always about being blessed. Enter and take possession of the land that Yahweh swore about to your ancestors. Again, everyone's up on it. You've been on these classes. You know why you're here. You're here and you're trying to get your act together so you can go back to the land that Yahweh promised to your ancestors. You are to remember everything in the way in which Yahweh led you these 40 years in the desert. He was humbling you. And what else did he do for 40 years? He was testing you in order to know what was in your heart. He wants to know. It's not that he doesn't. He actually likes to see things. Oh, I should go into Sodom and Gomorrah and go see for myself if it's really what they say it is. Oh, I should go to the Tower of Babel. I want to go see for myself, as if he doesn't see. He does see. Okay. But there's something about him knowing and going to see it for himself. So he wants to know. Okay. And he wants you to know whether or not you would obey his commandments or not. That's what the test is about. And that's what the humility is about. You're being tested. You're being tested. And you're being tested with what he has said. Okay? He humbled you. And how did he humble them? He allowed them to become hungry. Really? Yeah. Allow them to be hungry. For how long? They were only hungry for 30 days. This is what he's making reference to. And then he fed you with manna in chapter number 16, which you, neither your ancestors have ever known, because in chapter 78 of Psalms, it's bread that came from the Malachim. And he did this in order to make you understand that a person does not live by food alone, but by everything that comes from the mouth of Yah. What comes out of the mouth of Yah? It was a command. Yah commands the rain, as we learned earlier this week, the blessing on the land. Yah commands everything. The only reason why you were able to eat today is because Yahweh gave a command for it. I need you to hear what I'm saying to you. You're being tested and you're being humbled to see only if you would do what he says. Okay? During those 40 years, your clothing that you were wearing didn't grow old and your feet didn't swell up. Think about it deeply, or think deeply about it. Yahweh was disciplining you. That's what he does, to humble you, just as a man disciplines his child. A man who disciplines his child is like Elohim disciplining his children. Yah has to discipline his kids. You and I are Yah's sons and his daughters. And he wants us to obey the commandments of Yah, living as he directs and fearing him. This is where we lost. We're not living as he told us to live. We're living as the way that we want to live. And we're not walking in fear of Yah. Yah says, what happened to the fear that I gave you and I told you? You don't fear me. The kids today don't fear their fathers or their mothers, because their fathers and their mothers are their friends. They don't fear their parents. That's why you got all these people around here killing their parents. And that's why you got all this nonsense of these people running around. I know I sound like an old person, but it's the truth. Ain't nobody fear their parents. There's sons that are raising up against their own fathers and daughters against their mothers. and grandsons getting in their grandparents' face. There's no fear. But Yahweh is bringing you into a good land. If you notice, he keeps talking about this land and these streams and these springs of water and the depths of the valleys and the hillsides. It is a land that is full of wheat and barley and grapevines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you eat to the food in abundance and lacking nothing, a land where the stones contain iron and hills are mined for copper. You will eat and be satisfied. You will bless Yahweh your Elohim for the good land he's giving you. But I need you to be careful not to forget Yahweh your Elohim by not obeying. So our forgetting Yahweh is this, is not obeying his commandments, his rulings, and his mishpatim and his kukim that I'm giving you today. Because once that happens, you're going to forget and you're going to become proud-hearted. You're going to think everything is owed to you, okay? Elohim is testing his people, okay? One last place that I want to go, which is important. I think it was chapter number 2 of Judges. Any comments so far? Any contributions? Anything that anybody kind of wants to share with the class?
Akika, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
I have a dilemma, and that is the definition between tempting and testing. Can you
Okay.
help me?
Okay, so according to the Hebrew, the word that they have over in the Greek writings called tempting, okay? They put that word there, but it is exactly the same as testing. Testing and tempting are exactly the same. It means to put a person to prove them, to examine them. Like, for example, say you wanted to ensure that something was going to be reliable or dependable, right? Like you're a manufacturer, you got to put something through quality control. You have to make sure that it meets the specifications or the recommendations, or even if you do a product, like a skincare product, you have to send it through testing to make sure that it's going to do what it says it's going to do. I mean, I know there's people on here who are involved with different chemicals that you got to go through different series of tests. Okay. So the idea of tempting is a religious term. Okay. Yah is literally saying, I got to make sure that, like the example with Abraham, I got to make sure that he is going to be a reliable source for this blessing. I'm not going to give him something that he's not worthy of. Okay. You got to prove yourself. You got to prove yourself. Israel wanted to, they were testing Elohim. They were saying that they wanted him to prove himself that he was Elohim. But he's saying, I'm going to test you to see, I'm going to prove to see whether or not you're going to do what I'm saying. So what I'll put is different things in front of you to see if you'll do it. I'm going to do that. And testing here in the Hebrew again is from the word nasa, and nasa means to bear. Okay. So bearing means I'm going to put some weight on it to find out whether or not this can withstand the weight that I'm putting on it. Okay. I'm trying to look for more of a better example. Capacity, what they would call load capacity, right? So if something is supposed to be able to withstand something, I'm going to see if you can handle it. I'm going to test you. I'm going to put you there. Hopefully that can give it to you. But temptation is a religious term. There's no temptation from Yahweh in the sense of him testing his people. He's not tempting them. He's testing them. They just use that word temptation to be more about your lust and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Yah's way of dealing with us is, I got to approve, I got to prove you. I got to examine you and I got to see if you can bear it, if you're worthy of it, and also are you sustainable, right? And, but it's also too for you to see that, well, wait a minute, did I do what he says? Did I follow what he says? When he brought those sons of Rakavim into to that building. I mean, could you imagine what they were thinking when they went into the temple? Why are you calling me into the temple? Why are you bringing me into a room? Why are you setting me somewhere that I've never been before? And now you've invited us in here, okay? And now you're putting me in this room and you set pitchers of wine in front of me. That was not tempting. That was testing. That's to try the very words that were spoken. So the commandment is what is in question, is whether or not a person can bear the commandment. Because everything that Yah has said is the test for Yahweh is the command. It's whether or not you and I can bear it. He wants to know if you and I can bear it. So he'll use your appetite. He'll use your stomach. He'll use a job. He'll use anybody. He'll put people in front of you. He'll test you to see whether or not you will do what he's asked you. He'll use the person that you love the most, your own son, your own daughter, whatever you love. Yah will sit in front of you. What did he do to Job? He didn't tempt him.
No, he tested him.
He tested him. And the reason for the test is to find out what's in him. And he did find out what's in him. Every time he allowed that test to happen, Job was saying things that was against the Creator. Yah said, I don't like what you said about me. What you said about me was not true. And there were some things in there you would say, no, I didn't hear anything. It didn't sound like Job was tripping. It sounded, and the things that his friends were saying, we were like, oh, that didn't sound bad. Yah says, I got a problem with everything that those people said about me. Except for that one young man named Elihu who came and he said what was right. He put everybody in check. Like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So for us at this in particular time, we have to understand that Yahweh is testing his people because he wants to know that you and I are going to do what he says. Let me see here. They abandon your brother, father, brother. Okay. All right, this will be a good thing for us to read. We're going to go to Judges chapter number 2. Feel free to ask any more questions, you guys. Good question. Thank you for your question.
I had my hand up. I just wanted to say, as far as the testing is concerned, my husband and I felt like we were tested recently. They decided to have when my sister died, despite like knowing it was a holy time of year, they decided to have the services on Passover in a chapel, and we felt like that was a test for us as well. So, yeah,
that's
yeah.
And those are the things. These things are going to come, and you have to make a decision. I have friends who's like, "Hey, man, I just got this opportunity to do this big job, but it's on the Shabbat. Should I do it?" And they call me. I'm like, "What does the Torah say?" I'm being tested. Don't ever think there's not a test. There's a test.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Listen what Yah says, okay? In verse number 11, or let's just go here. Verse number 10. This is Judges chapter number 2. And let's try to get some understanding here. And let's ask for wisdom. When the entire generation who had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation arose that knew neither Yahweh nor the work that he had done for Israel. Okay. Somebody tell me, why did that happen?
They didn't tell their descendants.
Thank you, Yared. The reason why someone doesn't know is because from generation to generation, the command is Yahweh says, even for our feast of Pesach and Matzah, that you're supposed to tell your children. And it's from generation to generation, that they may know it's an oath, it's a sign. So if you don't teach it, it's not going anywhere, right? And so that right there is going against the Creator. So if you don't do that, he'll forget your children. He will forget your children. I'll show it to you in a second, okay? You guys, I know it's hard. I know it's difficult because you're like, man, it just seems like he's angry. Yes, he is. And he's telling us, like, you guys, your ancestors really messed up, and I'm coming to tell you everything they did so you won't do it. That's all. If somebody got to make the change, and it has to be you. Verse 11, the people of Israel did what was evil. Evil, again, for us is not, well, I'm going to do something bad. It means ra, it means dysfunctional from Yahweh's perspective. And they served Balaam, they served other lords and other gods. This is what happens when you don't teach your children what Yahweh said. They abandon Yahweh. Yes, they abandon Yahweh, the Elohim of their fathers. You guys wonder why there's a Christ character? Is because our ancestors abandoned Yahweh, and guess what? You became in slavery, and we had to accept their God, who brought them out from the land of Mizraim. Isn't that what this festival this week is about? Matzah? Yahweh was the one who brought us out on the 15th day of the first month. And they followed other gods, and they selected from the gods of the peoples around them, and they worshiped them. And this made Yahweh angry. So every time our ancestors and the people in our families today that are going and they're worshiping these other gods, Yahweh is angry. He's livid. He's willing to kill every single body of Israel. This is not on accident. He hasn't forgotten about this. He doesn't forget. They abandoned Yahweh. And they serve Baal and Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth is Easter, Ishtar. It's right here. The gods of their gods, of the peoples around them. The anger of Yahweh blazed up against Israel. He handed them over to their pillagers and their plunderers, and they plundered them and the enemies around them so that they would no longer listen. Can't see that. So they will no longer could resist their enemies. Whenever they launched an attack, the power of Yahweh was against them. Yahweh was against the people that are serving other gods. He's not for them. So things turned out badly, just as Yahweh said would happen. And he swore to them. They were in dire distress. But then Yahweh raised up judges. And judges are the individuals who are responsible for bringing out what they would call the mishpatim. A judge is what they call a shafat. A judge is a get it right with my finger because my pen decided it didn't want to work right now. A judge is a shafat, Shaphat. That's what a judge is, okay? A shafat. Shafat. And a shafat is an individual who will bring about the judgments, the mishpat team. That's all. You put the mih right here, shapatim, okay? Mishpatim. So judgment and rulings are done by those who understand the rulings of Yahweh. So he would end up raising up these mishpatim or these shafatim to go ahead and execute Yahweh's mishpatim, who rescue them from the powers of them plundering them. You and I will never, ever, 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 okay, be able to have power over our enemies until you and I turn back to Yahweh. Okay. So you said, well, right now that was a misnomer, or, you just said something wasn't true. No, right now, what we're doing is we're going through the process of being brought back to Yahweh. If Yahweh would give us wisdom, which he is, and he's giving us the mishpatim, okay, he's letting us know, look, when you guys do what I say, I will then stop allowing people to use the power of plunder, because now you got enough sense not to even do business with them. You got enough sense now to have nothing to do with them. You're actually coming out from among them. Okay, you're not dealing with them anymore. Yet they did not pay attention to their judges. They didn't do that either. But they made whores of themselves to other gods and worshiped them. That's the number one problem. And quickly turned away from the path which their ancestors had walked. That ancestors that you know about, that he said they'll guard my way, was Abraham, the way of obeying Yahweh's commandments. They failed to do this. It's very simple. It's not magic. We've been doing the same thing. When Yahweh raised up judges for them, Yahweh was with that judge and delivered them from the hands of their enemies throughout the lifetime of the judge. So here's the question. If Yeshua is your judge and Yah sent him, then why was nobody delivered from the hands of their enemies? Why? Why? He's a judge. Isn't that what they said? He's a judge of all the earth, right?
Yes.
Well, ain't nobody been delivered. Yahweh has moved with pity by their groaning under their oppressing and crushing them. Okay, but after the judge would die, they would relapse into worse behavior. Remember, I told you it's about how we act. Their behavior got worse than their ancestors, following other gods and serve and worship them, and they abandoned none of their practices or their stubborn ways. And that's the problem with the people today. They're not willing to walk away from this. So what happens? The anger of Yahweh blazed up against Israel because this nation violates my covenant, which I ordered their fathers to obey. They don't pay attention to what I say. So it's the same thing over and over and over again. They don't pay attention. They don't pay attention. They do not pay attention. In the future, I will not expel ahead of them the nations of Jehoshaphat that Jehoshaphat left when he died. This is how I will what? Test Israel. To see whether or not they will keep the way of Yahweh and living according to it as their ancestors did. So what is he teaching us? I'm going to test you to find out whether or not you're willing to keep my ways. If you don't keep my ways, I'm going to blaze up anger against you. That's why this is written. I'm giving you plenty of examples of everybody that did what I said, what I did for them. And I'm giving you plenty of examples of those who I said that I will put to the test to find out whether or not they would do what I say, because my anger will blaze up against Israel. You guys are not like everyone else. You're a set apart people. So the anger of Yahweh is going to always blaze up against Israel when they do not obey what he says. That's what it is. So Yahweh allowed these nations to remain where they are without quickly driving them out. And he did not hand them over to Yehoshua. Why? To test Israel. You might ask yourself, well, why does he keep testing them? If he knows what they're going to do, why does he keep testing them? Why do you think you're sent here?
To
Why?
weed out weakness.
To weed out. It's a weeding out process. These are the nations which Yahweh allowed to remain in order to put to test the people of Israel. I'm going to put you to the test. That's chapter number 3. They stayed there to test whether Israel would pay attention to the commandment of Yahweh through Moshe. Is this too hard for us to understand? That he ordered their ancestors to obey. What's the difference between them and us? Yahweh is testing us. At the end of the test, there's coming what? Somebody tell me, what's the end of the test? When is Yahweh going to be done? Huh?
When he brings us back into the land?
Yes. Well, we got to go to the wilderness first. Okay. I told you if we don't do what Yahweh says, that I'm going to give you a sample of what he says. Okay. So you would think, you won't think, well, Dawid said it and, God doesn't feel that way. Let's see how he feels. Go to book of Hosea, chapter number 4. Hear the word of Yahweh. Are you guys the people of Israel? Huh?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Okay, so this applies to you, right? He says, For Yahweh has a grievance against the inhabitants of the land. Okay, listen what he has in the inhabitants. There is no truth, no faithful love, or knowledge of Elohim in the land. Only swearing, lying, killing, stealing, and committing adultery. Oddly enough, these are the last 5 of the covenant that are being smashed right here, that are being broken. They break all bounds with blood crime, one blood crime after following another. Therefore, the land mourns, and everyone living there languishes. Wild animals too, the birds in the air, even the fish in the sea are removed. As a result of their behavior and the things that they do, everything mourns. The land mourns, the people living there mourn, the wild animals mourn, the birds mourn, the fish mourn. Why? Why is everybody mourning?
Land desolate.
Because Yisrael. When we don't do what Yah says, what's the first thing that Yahweh cuts off from the sky?
The rain.
He cuts the rain off. Once he cuts the rain off, what ends?
Food.
On the vegetation.
Vegetation and food. Who starves to death?
Everything.
Everybody. Does the land like to have rain? Does she like it? Does she like the moisture?
Yes.
She loves it.
She loves moisture. Okay. And you understand, a dry land is a barren land. Okay. Make the connection. But no one should quarrel or rebuke because the people are having to quarrel with the Kohen. The Kohen are the ones that I told you earlier, a couple of people were a little upset with me because I said the man is responsible. Well, let me give you a group of men who are responsible for the foundation of the community that failed. It's the Kohanim. They failed. Therefore, you will stumble by day, and the prophet will stumble with you at night, and I will destroy your mother, meaning the land. My people are destroyed. For what? Somebody read 6. For what?
Lack of knowledge.
The lack of knowledge, the want of knowledge. Knowledge right here is called da'ath. It means the eye of the door of the eye, because they're not going to Yahweh to find out what they're supposed to be doing. It's just the same word that's being used for witness. A witness, again, is what they would call an aid, an ayin and a dalet. Okay. Knowledge is a dalet and an ayin. It's just the reverse. See? So there's that and there's that. Okay. So in order to be a witness, you have to have what they would call visual observation. Okay. So this is the door, which is a dalet, and then here's the ayin, which is the eye, the door of the eye. The door of the eye is supposed to look towards Yahweh's house. Okay. So a person who has knowledge is the one who gets the knowledge from the ones who are supposed to give out the Torah. Okay. The individuals who Yahweh put over his house are the Kohanim, which are from the family of Levi. And because they were not doing their job, he says, because that's how my people are destroyed. My people are destroyed because they don't have any knowledge of what I am. Remember, he said, you guys are doing these things because you rejected knowledge. Okay. The knowledge is of the Torah. Okay. So if I will also reject you as Kohanim for me. So if you reject what I'm saying, when I'm laying down, you ain't picking up, I'm rejecting you. So these Kohanim were not teaching anybody what Yahweh said. And because you forgot the Torah of your Elohim, I will also forget your children. Question for you, back to my initial point. The men are responsible. These in particular men, because of what they did, Yah said, I'm going to forget your children. And how is he going to forget their children? Because he said, I'm going to make the land mourn. The land is going to mourn. The animals are going to mourn. The children of the Kohen and the Lavaim were all fed by the land. And they were fed by the land, which you would call your 10% of your tithe that the children of Israel is supposed to give. But you and I are destroyed because what they won't teach. If you forget the Torah, you're destroyed. See? So, and the reason why this was happening is because he said the more that they increased in number, meaning their children, the more they sinned against me. Okay. I will change their glory into shame. I'm going to take everything that gave you prestige and a, you know, for you to be close to Yah, you know, you keep the Torah, I'm going to, you know, you go get the best of everything, as I told you. So they're feeding on the sin of my people, meaning instead of you correcting my people, what you would do is you're going to feed my people. You're being fed by my people. So every time the people of Israel would sin, then that's when they would bring their offering. So the Kohen were getting fed off of the people of Israel's sin. So they turned it into a business instead of turning it from a learning environment into a business. So that's like me saying to you, you know what? I'm going to charge you and keep you ignorant to the fact so you can keep bringing me money. So I'm never going to teach you how to live, because the more you sin, the more I get. That's why people in the church today give all their money, because they're feeling guilt and they don't know how to deal with it except for by, you know, trying to be from a giving heart. So they're being taken advantage of. Okay. And the priests are the ones who are doing this. It's not just the pastors, the priests were doing it too. You understand? In that time. So it goes from teaching to more of a business. Sorry for that. I don't know what happened there. It goes from teaching to more of a business. So the more that they sin, the more my people sin, they're greedy for it. They want their crimes. The Kohen will fare no better than the people. I will punish him for his ways and pay him back for his deeds. Okay? They won't have enough to eat. They like whores too, by the way. They like the old whores and the new whores. He says, whoring and wine, both old and new, take away my people's wits. That's funny. Yah has a sense of humor. He says whoring and wine. So they like old whores and new whores. They like old wine and new wine. But both of them take away the wits of my people. And my people are so dumb, listen to this, that they can sell a piece of wood, which you would call what today? What's the piece of wood that they're consulting?
All those idols, all
It's
those
a
pagan
cross.
idols.
JC.
That's it. See? So they consult that, and they go to diviner's wand, and he speaks to them, and they got a spear of a whoring. That's all they got. And they go off whoring, and they're deserting their Elohim. That's what they do. That's what they love. They sacrifice on mountain peaks and offer incense and under hills and oaks and poplars and pistachio trees because they give good shade, because that's where they do their deeds. Therefore, what? Your daughter's what? Your daughter's going to behave like whores. Yep. And your daughter-in-law will commit adultery. I won't punish your daughters when they act like whores. Or your daughter-in-laws when they commit adultery. Why? Because who? The men. I keep telling everybody it's the men, because the men themselves are going off with whores and sacrificing with prostitutes. Yes, a people without understanding will come to ruin. Do you understand? That's why I'm going to let your daughter get away with it, because you're the one. Men, I know the women don't hear me think I'm super hard on women. No, I'm not hard on women. If anything, you guys got it light. You guys are the helpers. The men are the problem. If you have a weak man in your home, you're going to be destroyed. So I'm telling my wife right now, she's online. I'm gonna be as strong as with all like a bull. I'm gonna continue to be strong. You know why? Because if I'm not strong, you're dead. Azania, you want to say something?
Oh no, I'm sorry, it came off. Allergies, it just came off mute. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So you ladies understand it. You better want a strong man, because if you don't have a strong man, you don't have strong leadership, then your house is ruined. You got to be strong. That's a true statement. How much time do we have? We have a few more moments. So yeah, Yah will abandon the children of those who go against him. What else do we want to? Oh, let me share this and then we're done. By the way, we will be having our class today, just to let you know. We're on chapter number 2 of our Hebrew learning. So that's going to be an exciting class. I'd like for you guys to come. We're only 1 chapter in. If you didn't do chapter 1, that's okay. And chapter 2 is real close to it. You know, this week we were talking about those things that were hidden. And I believe that the Creator wants us to talk a little bit more about that. Okay, here it is. Chapter number 14. There were certain of Israel's leaders who came to me. This is Ezekiel talking, and he was with Kohen, by the way. While they were sitting with me, the word of Yahweh came to me. He said, human being, these men have taken their idols into their hearts, thus setting in front of themselves a stumbling block that leads to sin. And the question is should I let them consult me at all? Because that's what they want to do. They want to come, and while they're in exile, and they want to ask me, they want to consult me and ask me now what and how we can get out of our situation. Okay. So in context, we have to understand that if you and I are going to go consult Yahweh and we want to know how to come out of our situation, you have to be willing to accept what he's going to tell you. And more than often, when Yah talks to us, it's a little firm. It's actually very firm. Okay. Because he's not going to, he tells Ezekiel all the time, if my people ask you something, don't lie to them and sugarcoat it. You tell them that if a wicked person does wicked deeds, I'm killing them. That's what I want you to tell them. And if you tell them anything other than that, I'm going to kill you. That's what it is. So that's our Elohim. Okay. And that's the message. The message is never going to be, well, I don't know. And maybe, no, let's just say what he says. He says, therefore, speak to them and tell them that Yahweh Elohim says. What does he say? Everyone in the house of Israel, that's everyone who's online, who takes his idol into his heart, thus setting in front of himself the stumbling block that leads to sin, and then comes to the prophet, I myself, Yahweh, will answer him in a manner suited to his many idols, in order to grab hold of the house of Israel in their hearts, since through their idols they have all fallen away from me. Okay. Therefore, say to the house of Israel that Yahweh Elohim says, repent, meaning shuv. Okay, repent means shuv, and I want you to understand what that is. That's a S-H and a U and a V. Okay, in Hebrew, it would be a shin and a Y and then a bet, I believe. Yeah, shuv. Okay, so shuv means to return. It means to go back. So if you're going this way, Yah says, I need you to turn around and go back this way. Okay. And as you going this way, right, in your folly, when you start turning it back around and go this way, what you're going to have to do is I want you to look at what you did on your way back. So it's not like you're paralleling, like I just put in this arrow, like it's totally a separate deal. What he says is you're going this way. I want you to stop and I need you to turn back and go back this way now. Okay, so you're going back over the same path that you went before. And while you're on this path this way, and then you turn back and go back this way, okay, and let's make it a little wider. The path is this way. That's the path, okay? So once you do this, I want you to, on your way back, I need you to pay attention. I need you to look and observe and have some eyes and see exactly what your ancestors did on your way back. Look at what they did. Look at all the little pit stops that they stopped off at. And this is why Yah has done what he's doing. That's why he's taking us back through time. Right now, you and I are shuving. You and I are repenting because the path of Yahweh it's a new path for us. Okay. We're on the ancient path. We've been going this way. And then Yah says, okay, now I need you to turn back and go this way. So all the little key markers where you're supposed to keep the Pesach and Shavuot and the Shabbat and all those things, those are the things you're going to do. These are his Moedims right here. You know, he's telling you, these are the markers. You know, this is in April. This is in June. This is in September. You know, it gives you the time frame. So that's how you're learning, but you're returning back to him. He says, turn yourself away from your idols, because and how do you do it? Because it's in your heart, it's in your mind. Turn your faces away from all your disgusting practices. Your disgusting practices is the manner of life that you live because of the idols that you serve. So the attitudes that you and I have, I got them, is from the idols that I used to serve. The idols that I used to serve says that, like I told you earlier in my opening, is that I used to cry about stuff that I did all the time. And Yah is saying, instead of you crying about that, I need you to look at what you did and don't do it anymore. Like Koti Pamela said, she said, if you made a mistake, just make sure you don't do it again. Okay. You can't continue to make the same mistake again and then saying that it's just a mistake and God's going to forgive me. No, it's not going to happen like that. If you keep repeatedly doing the same thing over and over and over again, then you've already made up your mind that you don't want to follow what he says. Okay. For everyone, whether from the house of Israel or a foreigner living in Israel, who separates himself from me and takes hold of his idols into his heart, thus setting in front of himself a stumbling block that leads to sin, then comes the prophet asking him to consult me for him. I myself, Yahweh, will answer him. So in this case, you and I did not go and consult any prophets. Yahweh has responded by talking to us himself. And Yah says, I will set my face against that person. And I'm going to make him a warning sign and an example and cut him off from my people. That means if you continue to do what you're doing, then you will know that I'm Yahweh. The only way that you and I will ever know that Yahweh is by him doing what he said he's going to do. So when Yah talks about if a person refuses to do what I say, remember how often you read in the Torah portion this week that if you and I was to not take the seor out of our house and we were to eat the matzah, Yahweh said, I'll cut them off from my people. When Yahweh does that, then you're going to know that he's Yahweh. When he brings us out to the wilderness to judge us face to face, then you'll know that Yahweh is Yahweh. Right now, you and I really don't know that because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen what he's going to do. The people that went against Yahweh in the book of Numbers, he'd open up the earth and they all fall in. Then they knew that he was Yahweh. When he killed the ones who wanted the priesthood, then they knew that he was Yahweh. The nations will know Yahweh is Yahweh when Yahweh will come and he brings fire and judgment. That's when they'll know. Now, whenever a prophet is enticed, talking about a person's willing to speak a word, it will be I, Yahweh, who will have enticed that prophet. I will stretch out my hand over him and destroy him from among the people of Israel, meaning that these prophets were telling people that, hey, Yahweh is this way and, this is what we're going to do. Instead of listening to Yah, they're listening to all these other prophets. He says, even the prophets will bear the sins for their guilt, and the sins of the prophet will be the same as the sin of the person who inquired. Yah doesn't want us to deal with people who call themselves prophets. He doesn't want that. Yahweh wants to deal with us face to face, okay? But the ones who deal with him treacherously, Yah says, I'm going to answer them. And then he goes on to talk about, I'm going to, the person, the human being, whoever sins against me and deals with me treacherously in 13, so that I will stretch out my hand over it, I will break its food supply, sending, famine and eliminating both humans and animals, because that's the plan. That's Yahweh's plan, okay? If you go against him, that's what he's going to do. Because that's your Elohim. And you can be mad about it, you can complain, or you can go back and serve the other God that you serve. That will forgive everybody, okay? Here's the ultimate test. The ultimate test is this, because I saw a couple of people on YouTube and people on Facebook that are claiming to be Christ and claiming to be God and claiming to be a whole bunch of stuff, being a prophet. This is what Yah wants us to be careful about. And we're going to end on this. If a prophet or someone gets a message while dreaming arises among you, and he gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or wonder comes about as he predicted when he said, let's follow other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. Why? What is he saying? Which you have not known. Who's the only Elohim that our fathers knew? Somebody tell me.
Yahweh.
Yahweh. So the Yohe-Wahe. So if anybody comes to tell you about anyone else but this in particular Elohim that our fathers knew, Yah is saying that you don't know them. He said it over and over and over again. Let us serve them. You are not to listen to what that prophet or dreamer says. For Yahweh, your Elohim, is what?
Testing you.
He's testing you in order to find out whether or not you really what?
Okay.
If you love him. With what? All your heart and all your being. That's the test. That's the test. Yah wants to see. Yahweh is testing. It didn't say that anyone, it says for Yahweh is testing you to find out whether or not you really do love him with all your heart and all your being. Yah gives us a test to find out whether or not you go keep the commandments. If you don't listen to his voice, you don't love him. That's what he's saying. If you don't obey what he says, you don't love him. Look, we have stuff hidden inside of us. If you got something hidden in your heart against the Holy One, you're not being faithful. You got anything hidden against Yahweh, you're not being faithful. Being faithful means loving Yah. Loving Yah means being faithful. The people that are following other Elohim are the unfaithful ones to Yahweh. So he's saying the only way that I know that you're faithful to me and that you love me is if you do what I say. And that's a principle that should be applied to every relationship that you have. You know a person loves you if they do what you say. Because if you're saying something that's right, then it's right. It's not, well, I don't know. No, it is. A person that's unfaithful to you is a person who hates you. They won't do what you say. And inside of them, they'll commit adultery. They'll commit fornication. They'll commit everything. They're not faithful to you. That's how strong it is. So if you say that you love Yah and you say that you're going to be with him, then you're going to have to be faithful to everything he says. If you're not faithful to him, he says, remember, they started acting like, my people are like whores. They act like whores. You know, you guys are not faithful to what I'm saying. Unfaithfulness is hiding things. Like if you had an affair, right? You wouldn't go home and tell your partner, you would hide it. You'd hide it from them. You know, you can find that in chapter number 27 of Deuteronomy and 27 actually. He says that these are the things that are done in secret. So there's a lot of secrets that people have that they don't want to talk about. They got a lot of secrets, and the secrets that you have is your unfaithfulness. So if you're hiding something from Yah because you don't want to, you know, you think you're hiding, Yah knows this, of course. If you're trying to hide something from him, okay, and you think he doesn't know, he does know. And he says, you hiding anything from me means that you're unfaithful to me. If a person can't sit down and talk to you and tell you what they're thinking, they're being unfaithful. If you're in a business deal with someone and they didn't tell you behind closed doors, they had another deal going or there was something wrong. If you sold the business, but yet you didn't tell the people all the stuff that the equipment was broken, that was unfaithful. So you can use this concept throughout all your whole entire life. You can use it in business. You can use it in relationships and marriage. If you're hiding something, how you feel about your mate, you should tell them so you guys can resolve it and get it straight. That's what it is. Because if you're not, you're being unfaithful. See? And so if you did that again, if you did that to the creator, right? Or you say you do it to your mate, whether husband or wife, okay, boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever it may be, if they hide something from you, then if they do it to you, they'll do it to him. You see? If your sons and your daughters won't listen to you, they won't listen to Yah. That's what everybody doesn't get. Okay? If your servant is not listening to you and they're being unfaithful to you, they are not going to listen to Yah. But the Christianity says it's okay for you not to listen to your husband or your ruler or anybody else because you still got a relationship with God and everything is going to be hunky-dory and everything's fine. Just you guys got some problems and that's what's going to be worked out. God's going to work it out. And I got bad news for you. It's not going to be worked out between you and God. Elohim says that these are my laws and my statutes and my commandments. You've been unfaithful to me. Okay, and let me share it to you. Let me share it with you. Let me continue with this right quick. He says that the person who does this is being, unfaithful. Okay, if you and I are unfaithful, and I want you to hear me, if we're unfaithful to each other, look who you broke faith with. Let me show it to you. So you won't say I said it. Listen to what he says. Okay, this is for all of us. Yahweh said to Moshe, okay, order the people of Israel to expel from the camp everyone with Zazarat. We already went over Zazarat. Everyone with the discharge, male or female, whoever's unclean because of touching a corpse. Both male and female you must expel. There's no difference. Put them outside the camp because they're unclean. So they won't defile the camp, their camp where I live among you, okay? The people of Israel did this and put them outside the camp. The people of Israel did what Yahweh had said to Moshe. Yahweh said to Moshe, listen carefully, tell the people of Israel, when a man or a woman commits any kind of sin against another person and thus breaks faith with Yahweh, he incurs guilt. Listen to this. He must confess the sin which he has committed. He must make full restitution for his guilt and add 20% and to give it to the victim of his sin. Okay. And then it talks about if this person doesn't have any relatives or whatever to pay this restitution. The idea and concept behind this is that anybody who commits any type of transgression against anybody, any kind of sin against another person, you break faith with the Creator. So your guilt is with the Creator, is not with the person. That's all I wanted to share. That's all I want to share with you. If you break faith with the person, you think that you're going to walk away and nothing's going to happen. Not for Israel. Yah says, speak to the children of Israel. Israel has a higher standard of living. If you did something against someone, you think that you're going to walk away like in Christianity, and you think that Christ paid for it, you're sadly mistaken. You and I break faith with each other. It's up to the individual who did that to go to that person and confess it and ask Yah for his forgiveness for breaking faith with him. Okay. The sin that he's talking about here is any kind of sin. Okay. Okay. It's any kind. You spoke to somebody in a certain way. You didn't supposed to speak to them in that way. And you did that. You broke faith with Yah. But no one's ever taught us that's the connection. You guys are my brothers and sisters. That's why I say, and sometimes I do apologize to you because I'm like, man, I went off on that when I went off. I hope no one took it personal. But the fact is, if I diminish you in any kind of way, I'm breaking faith with Yah. Because you're Yahweh's people. And because you're his people, we have to respond to each other in a different type of way. There's all kind of laws that Yah says, and nobody's getting away with anything. And I keep saying it over and over again. This lesson today was about being tested. Yah's testing us to see whether or not you would say, well, Yah says that if I did this against you, I broke faith with him, so maybe I should make it right with you. You know, Yared, I said something to you, I think it was wrong. And I feel it, I shouldn't have done that, you know? Okay, or husband to a wife, hey, you know, I acted this way, you know, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I should have, you know, did this. I need to confess it. And you confess it. And then when you do that, Yah will have that relationship. There's no way that you and I can have a relationship with Yah outside of having a relationship with each other. He's used this relationship that we've had with each other to give us the testing ground and the place to practice on how to perform these acts of righteousness through the Torah. The Torah was not designed for a people who would not submit to the will of Elohim. The Torah is designed for the people who will definitely uphold the righteousness of Yahweh's rulings. Yahweh is the king of the universe, okay? And that's our Elohim. And he's not the God of the New Testament, which allows you to, you know, feel like you're being tempted and by your lust because you have a desire to have sex. So now you're a beast and there's no good in you. No. Go look it up. Look up carnality in definition of Google. And it always talks about being sexual and being like a beast. No, that's how you and I will be fruitful and multiply. That's perfectly normal. You understand? But it's in the context in which we do it, which is the sacred covenant of marriage, and that Yah has provided that behavior to be able to happen for all of us. Okay. So, and to bring forth children. But back to my point, if you and I are going to be with Yah, then we have to understand that we have to be a people who would be willing to obey his command. And it's not hard for us to obey his command. Okay, it's not difficult. Moshe said it's not too difficult for you to do what I'm asking you to do. It's not. So we saw the example today of a family for generation to generation who did what a human father told them to do. And as a result of their obedience to their human father, Yah says, you guys are always going to have someone to stand before me, which is a clue to let us know that if you guys do what I say, you always have someone to stand before me. If you don't do what I say, you're going to destroy your whole entire family. You are. Okay, you're going to destroy your family. What it is, if the sons and daughters don't listen to their father, you're going to destroy your family. I'm telling my son that, right? He's online. I'm telling him straight to his face. You go against me, Yah's going to destroy you, and he's going to destroy your family and my seed. That's what it is. And if we want to continue to live and to do what he says, then we'll prosper. Just like he said, I'll cut the rain off. If you guys don't know what I'm saying, if you cut the rain off, you cut the food off, you cut the animals, you cut the grass off, and then the humanity is going to be cut off and they're going to die. Yah doesn't have respect of persons, period. That's what it is. So it's up to us. It's up to us if you pass this final test. This is it. After this, there is no more testing. Yes, Azania.
I just wanted to say again, Toda Rabaya for this lesson. It's just really beautiful. And as somebody who's been in the Awakened community for a while and around and about, it's these series of teachings that you are given is really beautiful. My husband truly enjoyed the one on wisdom. He listened to that this morning because I really am fearing Isaiah, I believe it's 10 and 22, where the Most High says, though thy people be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant will return, and the destruction decreed shall overflow with righteousness. In the Awakened community, we couldn't wait till 2019, we thought it was, because judgment was coming on the nations. And I mean, for real, I was with UMY and various organizations, and we wanted to do marches, planning all these activities, and we did not I don't know if there was a conscious awareness of what that really meant. I think that we thought we were going to be gathered in the wilderness, and those of us that said we were sorry and weren't worshiping JC, that everything was going to be all right. Yeah. And it's so much more than that. And I just thank the Most High for sending along various messengers and brothers and sisters that have helped me gain the appropriate understanding and fear of him, to realize that these awakened years were really about making myself obedient, circumcising my heart to prepare myself for the possible entry into the land again, because that's what it's really about. It's an inward journey. It truly is. It's a total inward journey. So
wonderful word. That's a wonderful, wonderful word. It is an inward journey. I love that contribution. Thank you for that, Coach.
Praises.
And I'm happy that Yah has decided to use me along the way. I'm not a perfect person, like anyone, but I want to let us know that this is the last rodeo. This is it. This is it right here, you guys. If we don't get it right now, then this is the end. This is it. I could show you a verse, but it'll take some time. That if we don't get this in particular thing right, this in particular time, there is no makeup after this. This is it. Yah is going to decide who is going to enter the land based on their behavior and their conduct and their willingness to fear him and to change and to do what he says. If we don't fear Yahweh, we're not going to listen to his voice. Okay. But you can't, and I just want to make this very, very clear. You cannot separate the relationships that we have amongst each other and think you're going to dog each other out and then go be with Yah. That's not going to happen. If you and I don't respect each other in our roles, okay, and give to each other what's due to the other person, Yah is not going to receive you. And I want to just tell it to you because he says it in the book of Malachi. If you mistreated someone, widow or stranger, I'm killing you. That's it. That's you guys. I'm trying to. It's so difficult to get us to understand the righteousness and the holiness of Yahweh. He says, if you took somebody's wages and didn't pay them, and you did anything against them, I'm going to kill you for that. Do you understand that? Okay, that's what it is. And it's not open to debate and discussion. If you and I are to serve another God, like matzah, meaning if I find in your heart that you have another God, because you know, on the outside, I don't have any crosses, I don't have any images. Inside of our hearts, inside of our minds, we have other gods. And he says, well, what's your God? Your God can easily be your girlfriend. Your God can easily be your husband. Your God can easily be your job. Your God can easily be your attitude and your mindset. Your God could be your career. Anything that you put above what he said is your God. There's nothing that should be elevated past what he said. That's what it is for Israel. It's not, we're not a religion. So whatever he said is what he said. And no matter if you like it or don't like it, doesn't matter. If it's prescribed. So we can play if we want to, but at the end of the day, if you're not 100, then you're going to know who Yahweh is. He said, then you'll know. But I'm just warning you that you don't have another opportunity. This is your chance to do it. And of course, we don't have, like, you know, some people think they got 15, 20, 30, 40 years. You don't know what your day. Today could be your last day. That's what scared me in my dream. I wanted to tell you guys what I had to tell you. Sometimes I try to revert back, think, okay, what do I want to talk about today? You know, I'm going to put something together. And I says, no, you don't do that. You don't know what I want to talk about to my people. You don't prescribe what you want for my people. I'll tell you what I want to talk about. You don't tell me nothing. I'll tell you. You're the servant. I'll tell you what to say. Don't worry about what you're going to come up with. You do what I tell you to do, right? So I have to be able to say what he says. Everything that I've said, Jeremiah chapter number 35, go read it for yourself. Deuteronomy chapter number 8, read it for yourself. Deuteronomy 13, read it for yourself. Judges chapter 2, read it for yourself. Chapter 3, read it for yourself. Genesis chapter number 22, read it for yourself. Go read the New Testament, James chapter number 1 and 2 for yourself and make your comparisons and find out for yourself. Numbers chapter 5. Okay. That's what it is, because judgment is coming. And you're being tested right now. So we don't have tomorrow. We only have today. Hallelujah. Wow. Any comments, contributions, subtractions, additions before I let you go? If not, go ahead.
What chapter was that? When Abraham was it made righteous?
Chapter number 15 is where he was in it. It's chapter 15 of Genesis. And in the Hebrew, I will look it up in the Bible Hub and you'll see it, and read chapter 15 and to tell you that Abraham was caused to become righteous. Righteousness was, he was caused to believe, and Yahweh gave him righteousness, right? Through that causing him to believe what Yahweh said. But it wasn't something he did for himself. It was something Yah gave to him. Chapter number 22, he is put in the test to find out whether or not he would fully, live up to what Yahweh wanted him to live up to. And remember, the Malach called up to him a second time and said, hey, now I know for sure that you're a man who fears Elohim. So because of that, indeed, am I going to bless you and your descendants. Okay. So he reaffirms that what he's going to do, but he had to be tested. Okay. Everything's a test. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, make sure you eat your matzah today until the sun goes down. Okay. After the sun goes down, and pray it out when the sun goes down. You ask the Holy One of Israel to bless your time that you had with him this week on this festival, and to continue to show you mercy and compassion. Okay. Anyone else? I see.
Lesson, I enjoyed thoroughly. Toda Rabah.
Oh, you're welcome. Toda Rabah. Toda Rabah. I see it. Fred. Welcome, Fred. I don't know. First time I ever saw you on here. Welcome to the class. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know or hit me up on Facebook and direct message me. I'll answer any questions you have. So it's so nice to see everyone. Hallelujah. Toda Rabah Yahweh. Yahweh, we thank you for this opportunity that we had today to spend with you through on your Shabbat, the Hayom HaShabbat Yahweh. We thank you, Yahweh, for the Mikra Kodesh, is the congregation and the gathering of those who are holy today. We've been set apart for you on this in particular day. We thank you. We thank you for the time of the Feast of Matzah, and we ask that you would continue to guide us and lead us in your path and in your way. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Toda Rabah.
Toda Rabah.
Toda Rabah.
Wow.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.